Hello, everyone. Good morning. Well, I guess I should say good afternoon. How's everyone doing today? If you're here, please send a message, say hi, tell me how you're doing, how your weekend is so far, and great to see you again. Hello. And Farm is here. Lovely. Video and sound are good. Thank you. Jisun is here. Excellent. So many familiar names. Yes, you might have noticed I changed my background a little bit. I recently redecorated my, living room, I'll call it. So I moved my desk. I like this background a little bit better. Okay, how's everyone doing today? We're fine? Good. And who knows today's topic? What are we talking about today? Actually, it's our last class of second semester. So, what are we going to talk about in our final class? Hi there, Hyunju and Joyce. Hyunju is correct. Yes, restaurants and food. Oh, Jisun, you noticed a few Christmas lights. Yes. I'm decorating for Christmas. All right, correct. We're going to be talking about restaurants. Honestly, who doesn't love going to restaurants? So we'll talk about going to restaurants. An expression we use is going out to eat. So we'll talk about going out to eat at a restaurant. And we'll talk about some words and expressions that you might come across in an English-speaking restaurant. So my question for everybody, please type your answers, is this. First question, have you ever eaten in an English-speaking restaurant? If you have, if so, when and where was it? And what happened? So please tell me about your memories, your experiences, maybe a recent experience eating or dining in an English-speaking restaurant. Maybe you were working or traveling or living abroad. Maybe you found an English-speaking restaurant here in Korea. They could exist, perhaps. So, does anybody have any experience dining in an English environment? Maybe you could tell us what happened. Was it nice? Was it terrible? What you ordered? If you didn't like leaving a tip, because I'll admit, now that I'm living in Korea, I have grown accustomed to, so I've become more adapted to not tipping, not giving that extra service charge to waiters and waitresses. Joyce says, sure, restaurants in Spain and America and so on. Lovely. So we'll talk later about any differences between maybe more Western style restaurants and Korean restaurants. Anybody else? Your last time eating in an English restaurant? Perhaps you had to order everything using English. It's not that special for me, but my last time eating in an English-only restaurant, that would have been around 2 years ago, the last time that I traveled to my country, Canada, to meet my family. So I spent, excuse me, I think I have a frog in my throat this morning. Let me drink some water. So I keep saying morning, probably because I overslept today. So I was in Canada, in Toronto, as well as in some northern, smaller cities. And I ate at a lot of restaurants. Joy says, I spent more than 5 hours enjoying lunch in Spain. I love meals pairing wines. Okay, I'm glad you brought up wine. Later, we'll talk about some vocabulary that relates to specifically wine. Good, good. Okay, anyone else? And I eat these dining in business trip. Okay, so you had eaten in an English restaurant on or during a business trip. Most conversations was sign language, using your hands, using your body, right? Gesture. That's a great thing to mention, sign language. So honestly, I feel like when I travel to a different country, maybe when I'm traveling in a Chinese-speaking country or Japanese-speaking country, if I can't use English, I end up just using my fingers and pointing at something on the menu. Very good. Okay, lovely. So we'll keep going. We're going to start with a walkthrough, so step by step, of eating at a restaurant. And I would like your help. So my first question for you is, let's imagine we arrive, excuse me again, at the restaurant. We arrive at the restaurant with a reservation. Reservation, or you can say booking. Both words are totally fine in English. So you already have a booking. You already have a reservation. What do you say when you arrive at a restaurant and you already have a reservation? That's my question for you. What are some expressions that you think you could say? Maybe to the waiter when you first arrive, maybe to the hostess, that's perhaps the person who greets you right away. You could also call this person the maitre d'. Maitre d' is like the head waiter. So maybe one of these people greets you right away. Somebody greets you and you have a reservation. What can you say? Perfect. Yes. So we have a reservation. Good. Like, yes, good evening. We have a reservation. Hello, I made a reservation under the name of. Perfect. That is a great expression. Under the name of. We even say just simply under. Both are okay. We have a reservation under Cassandra. We have a reservation under the name of Cassandra. We have a reservation for 7 o'clock under Cassandra. All of those are good. So I think the key point is using under. Under is a great word. Yes, Seha, correct. We already booked. We're under blah, blah, blah. We already booked. My name is like this. That's also very perfect. And I see a message from earlier. Yes, Seha, last time eating out in an English-speaking environment was a burger in San Francisco. Wow. Actually, that sounds lovely. We ordered we ordered 3 different burgers each. But they gave us just 2 burgers. Oh, so it sounds like they made a mistake. We'll talk about that later, how you can get the waiters or waitress's attention if there's some problem or some mistake. I wonder what happened. Did they give you something complimentary? Did they say sorry? Did they cook you that 3rd burger? Let us know. Good, good. Okay, so back to our walkthrough. You arrive at the restaurant. You have booked a table. It's under somebody's name. Very good. Next is this one. What can you say to order something from the menu, or even just to ask a question about the menu? So we have arrived. We are seated. The waiter or waitress comes to you, and perhaps they ask you, what would you like today? What would you like to order? How can I help you today? So there could be so many different expressions they could use, right? So they're asking you what you would like. What are some words or phrases we could use when we want to order something. Or if we don't know what we want, maybe we could ask for a recommendation, or we could ask about the menu. So what are some phrases that you know? What can you say to order? Okay, and say here perfect English. Good, good. I asked again with my receipt. We ordered 3 different burgers. Please check again. Good, good. It's always important to be polite, right? Remembering our pleases and our thank yous. Lovely. Okay, so now we are in the restaurant. We would like to speak to the wait staff. So that means the waiter or the waitress. What can we ask? We could say, well, if we know what we want, we could say, I want a burger. That's totally fine, but there could be a lot of other phrases or questions we can use. Joyce, perfect. What's your special? What would you recommend? Perfect English. That's if you don't know. Good. If you do know, N. Yo, buddy, please recommend today's best menu. That's quite casual, but you could say that in a more informal and casual restaurant. But if we're at a very expensive restaurant, we're having fine dining, very luxurious food, we wouldn't say the yo, buddy, as you know, of course. Say a perfect, I would like. I like that expression a lot. That's pretty common. I would like the lunch special. I would like a burger. I would like to order a burger. I would like to order a burger, please. All of those are lovely. Good job. Yes. So I would like this. I would like that. Another thing that we could say, I'll take. That's a little bit less formal, but you can still say it. Like, I'll take a burger and a Coke, right? I'll have a burger and a can of Coke. That's okay too, right? You could even say, I'm gonna get, again, a little bit informal, but it's totally fine in most situations, except the fine dining. So if you're in a really, let's just say formal, not casual environment, the I would like is probably your best choice. The I would like could be used in any situation, whether you're ordering at McDonald's, so fast food, or a Michelin restaurant, so much more expensive food. Okay, good. If you're ordering for a group, we could say, we would like, or we would like to have like this. We'd like to order. Okay. This one is a little bit of a fun question. What can you say when you want to get the waiter or the waitress's attention? So you need them to come back, perhaps to give you a refill of water. You need more water. Maybe you'd like to order more. Maybe there's a problem. Maybe your food is not cooked well enough and you need to complain, or you need to send it back to the kitchen. So for whatever reason, what can you say to get the waiter or waitress's attention? Of course, in Korea, it's like 저기요, 저기요, like this. And I'll admit, when I first started living in Korea, I was so nervous about shouting or using a louder voice in a restaurant to get somebody's attention. But it's fine. And similar things happen in Western countries. So yes, and I like that. Yeah, excuse me. Just simply excuse me. Some people could say over here, but I like excuse me. Excuse me is probably the same as the 저기요, like it's the most commonly used way that's polite to get the waiter or waitress's attention. And there's something that I wish we would have in Canada. So in my country, we usually never have on our table, let's imagine this is our table, we never have a bell. In Korea, I've noticed many times we can press a bell, like ding dong, and then somebody will come to help us. I think that's a brilliant idea, but we don't really have that in my country yet. So if I ever move back to Canada and open my own restaurant, I would install bells on every table. Okay, and Sehyuk says you can say, excuse me, or just wait, watching one of them until they look at me. Yes, yes. If you are a little more shy, or if it's an environment where you don't feel like, raising your hand or saying, excuse me, is the best choice for you, trying to make eye contact and a little gesture, or excuse me, like a little expression like that can get their attention. Yes, eye contact works as well. I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, now let's just speed through our dinner. So we ate, we had our dessert, and it's time to pay. So we want to collect the bill. What can we say when it's time to pay? It's time to get the bill. So you need to call the waiter or waitress over and tell them that you have finished eating. There is nothing else for you. You've ordered everything. You've had your dessert. Perhaps you've even had some coffee and tea. So you're completely done eating. So what do you say when you want to get the bill, when you want to pay for your meal and leave? I'll give you a second. Of course, in Korea, I think it's more common where you can just take control. You can stand up, walk to the counter in most cases. So you go to the counter and people are ready for you to pay. They accept your payment and you can leave very quickly. I'm a little bit biased, but I love eating out in Korea because the process is so fast, obviously so delicious, and so simple. Because at least in my country, eating out takes usually a long time. There's a lot of waiting. Even the whole meal could come in courses, right? So you would begin with maybe your entree, not your entree, let's keep going here. Your appetizer, right? Your appetizer, and then your main meal, your entree comes, and then you need to usually have some dessert. After dessert, there could be some coffee, and then you need to wait for the bill to arrive. Very good end. So you could say, bill, please, or you could say, check, please. We call the bill, and that also means check. So check, please, bill, please. Could I have the bill, please? I'd like to pay the bill, please, like this. We'll take the check. We'll take the bill, please. Say, yeah, perfect. Could we get the bill, please? Lovely. And then maybe some other questions when you're paying. You might want to use your credit card. So you would say, do you accept credit cards here? Do you accept cash? Maybe you want to pay with a group of people. So my last two questions are about when you are deciding in a group of people who pays what. So my next one is, what can you say when you want to split or divide the bill? Let's split the bill. That's one. Do you know any others? So we're going to divide it. We will go Dutch. Perfect. And I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I want to focus on. So we will go Dutch. That's the perfect way to use that expression. Sometimes in Korea, people use Dutch pay. Only they say in English, let's do Dutch pay. And it's totally understandable. I understand, but the expression in English is go Dutch. Yes, so let's go Dutch. Let's go Dutch tonight. That means let's split the bill. Let's divide the bill. But if you say, let's do Dutch pay, or I can't think of another one, but just the do Dutch pay, the do we don't need, and the pay we don't need. So I think it's a bit of a Konglish expression. Totally fine in Korea, but abroad, don't say Dutch pay, just say go Dutch. That's my tip. And Sehyuk, yes. Can you split it? Can we split it? Can we split the bill? Perfect. Good job. Okay, my last question is here. So, you are a very generous person. You are going to pay for everything. You'll pay for all of your friends. What can you say to your friends or to the group that you're dining with? It's not going Dutch. One member will pay for it all. So what can you say there? There are some different ones we can use. So I'd like to see. Yes, Joyce, perfect. It's on me. That just means I'll pay. Oh, and I love that. It's on me. Don't show your wallet. Good. Don't take out your wallet. Don't worry. You can get it next time. Joyce as well. Yes, it's my treat. Yeah, I'll treat you, meaning I'll pay for you. It's my treat. Don't worry about it. It's on me. It's my treat. Good. You can get it next time. You can treat me next time. Excellent. Other things is just simply, oh, I've got it, or I'll get it. The tense doesn't really matter here. So I will get it, or I have got it. We use them both, and they're all okay. Sehyuk, oh, lovely. I would like to insist this time. That's very beautiful language. I like that. I could imagine that being said in a more business environment. Good. Like if you're with your friends eating in a more everyday average restaurant, I'll get it. It's on me. But if you're in a more elevated environment, oh, I insist. I would like to insist this time. Beautiful. Good job. Okay. Are there any questions? All right. So if you have a question, just type it. I'd like to teach just a few expressions, and I have a few questions for you as well. So the first expression, I have already mentioned it. It's simply this one. To eat out. So to eat out means a restaurant, going to a restaurant. It can also be said as to go out to eat. So I will put it in the chat. It means outside food, right? Not your home-cooked food, not the food you make in your own home. So to go out to eat or to eat out means to have a meal in a restaurant. And my question for you is, do you enjoy eating out, going out to eat in your city? And how often do you eat out? Which kinds of restaurants do you tend to go to? So let's try to use eat out or go out to eat. Go out to eat is just the long version. Let's try to use that in a sample sentence. So, do you like eating out? How often do you eat out? How often do you go out to eat? Which restaurants do you tend to go to? For me, of course, I really enjoy eating out. I enjoy going out to eat. For me, let me think. The last restaurant that I went to was, well, actually, during COVID, it's a little hard to go to restaurants. So I would say that it was last week during a staff lunch. So kind of like a company lunch. And I ate lots of seafood. It was quite good. So let's try to use eating out, going out to eat in a sentence. Where did you eat out last weekend, perhaps? Or when was the last time that you ate out? I'll give you a moment. If I'm completely honest, I tend to order food. So I like delivery food these days due to the pandemic. But I still eat out. I still go out to eat about once a week. In fact, 2 weekends ago, I celebrated my birthday. And on that day, I made sure to go out to eat as much as I could. So I ate very delicious food, lots of seafood again, in another area of town. So that was a good experience. So I like to go out to eat on my birthday. Sehyuk says, for me, I enjoy going out to eat, especially with my family. Perfect sentence. Brilliant. Yes, it's great to share with others. Good job. Joyce Wu says, I eat out twice a week with my friends or family, usually at Korean restaurants. Again, perfect English. Okay, this is too easy. So let's move on. Another perhaps easy one, but it's still fun to talk about, is one of my favorite things, side dish. And I do know this Korean word, banchan. So side dish. Let's talk about some side dishes. What do you know about side dishes in Korea or in other countries? Do you have a favorite side dish in Korea? So the side dishes, they are also called a side order or a side item abroad. So you can hear many, many words for banchan, but it usually has the word side. So I'll type that here. Side dish, side order, side item, or just a side. For example, I could say I usually order steak with mashed potatoes as a side dish. Or I usually order steak with a side of mashed potatoes, or mashed potatoes on the side, or as a side item, mashed potatoes. So you can use that in a variety of ways. So let's talk about side dishes. I love Korean side dishes a lot. What do you know about side dishes in other countries? What's your favorite side dish in Korea? So let's try to use the word side dish in a sentence. If I had to choose my favorite side dish in Korea, I don't think I actually could, because there are so many delicious side dishes in Korea. And actually, what really surprised me was that side dishes are free in Korea, because as you may know, in a lot of other countries, side dishes are expensive. You need to order them separately and pay for them separately. As a funny anecdote, about maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was traveling in Australia, and I'm a big fan of Korean food. So I went to a Korean restaurant only for kimchi jjigae. I really wanted kimchi jjigae. So in Sydney, I found a kimchi jjigae restaurant. And when I was there, I was shocked because they did not bring me any side dishes. It was just the kimchi jjigae. So I had to ask, well, I'd like some side dishes, please. And then they presented me with the menu again, and they said, choose. So every side dish cost some money. Anyway, I like kimchi. So even if I was having a kimchi jjigae, I still wanted kimchi on the side. So I requested some kimchi. And I just felt so strange paying for kimchi, because that's a free side dish in Korea. So I remember a little tiny plate. I wish I could give an example. Maybe just this, like the size of my palm. This is my palm. The tiniest amount of kimchi. And it was $4 Australian. And my kimchi jjigae was 16 Australian dollars. So I remember paying $20 or more for a simple kimchi jjigae. And I just remember thinking, whoa, Korean food is very expensive abroad. Joyce says, the side dishes at the Galbi restaurant in Suwon were delicious. Perfect sentence. Good, good. Sehyuk says, I like fresh cabbage salad with ketchup and mayo as a side dish. So we'll say as a side dish. Tapas in Spain, oh, yummy, is the best side dish of wine. Oh, very good. It's kind of like an anju. Onion in China, one of my favorite side dishes is kimchi. Very good, very good. Yeah, as a side dish. Yes, those are very delicious. Good job. We'll move on. Maybe this is a new word. Maybe it's not. So the next one coming up is, oh, I'm sorry, Sehyuk. As a. So you would say, I like it as a side dish. I could say, I like potatoes as a side dish. Perfect. Okay, so now a new word, cutlery. Now this one maybe is new. I'll let you guess the definition. What does cutlery mean? What is cutlery? You can kind of guess the meaning based on the word, what it sounds like. Cutlery. I'll type it in the chat. What is cutlery? We're going to discuss that next. Yes, good. So forks, knives, spoons. They are your eating utensils. So traditionally in the West, cutlery would be those three. But technically, it can be any instrument that you use to manipulate your food. So I would personally include chopsticks as cutlery. So what you use when you're dining. So why don't we try to use this new word, cutlery, in a sentence? So, for example, do you care about the cutlery used at a restaurant? Or do you own any expensive cutlery? So that means, do you care about the condition of the cutlery when you go to a restaurant? Some people use plastic cutlery, right? So in some restaurants, you have a plastic spoon, a plastic knife, wooden chopsticks that you need to break. Other restaurants use maybe metal cutlery. Do you care about that? Is it anything that you're interested in? Perhaps you collect cutlery. I'm not sure if this is a hobby at all in Korea, but in some Western countries, people love collecting beautiful, rare, expensive dishes, plates, spoons, even, special spoons from every state in the United States or a spoon from every country they travel to. So that's an example of cutlery. In a sample sentence, you could say, oh, the cutlery at this restaurant is so dirty. They need to wash their forks and knives a bit better. Or you could say to the waiter, excuse me, would you please bring us our cutlery? Would you please bring us the forks and knives? The waiter forgot our cutlery. Where is it? You could say, I bought my mother some cutlery, a new set of cutlery for her birthday. So why don't we try this word, cutlery, in a sentence? And this word actually comes from French. You'll notice that a lot of words in English come from French, especially words associated with food. Cutlery, cuisine, menu, oh gosh, so many. Sehyuk says, I don't care about the cutlery used at a restaurant if it is clean. Perfect sentence. And I agree with you. Good. Anybody else who can try to use cutlery in a sentence? I care about the cutlery at a fine dining restaurant. I think it is also part of service. Beautiful sentence. And yes. So when you go to a higher end restaurant, you expect more higher end cutlery. Good. Okay, moving on. This one, cafeteria or canteen. I'm sure you know this already. So cafeteria or canteen It is some facility where you eat. It's usually at your workplace or your school. So it's usually for a large amount of people. A cafeteria or a canteen, excuse me. And there's a small difference. Honestly, most people say either one, but canteen is a little bit more used in the UK. So maybe people in England would say the staff canteen, meaning the staff place where all the coworkers eat together at lunchtime. But in America, in Canada, we say cafeteria. Let's meet at the cafeteria. Let's eat in the cafeteria. And, excuse me again, in the cafeteria, we can make it short and we could even say in the caf. In the caf, just C-A-F. That's a slang for cafeteria. So when I was a high school student, I would eat lunch in the cafeteria. I would eat lunch in the caf maybe 3 times a week, for example. So I have some questions. Does your school or your workplace have a cafeteria? Have you ever eaten there? And what do you think about the food? So let's try to use cafeteria or canteen in a sentence. You could say, I ate lunch at the cafeteria. I ate lunch at the staff cafeteria. You can use a word to modify cafeteria if you want, like staff or school, but you don't need to. Everyone knows what the cafeteria is. You could say, let's eat out. Let's go to a restaurant instead of having cafeteria food. Or, okay, meet you in the cafeteria in 20 minutes. I'll see you in the cafeteria in 20 minutes. So let's talk a little bit about cafeterias or canteens and use a sentence. Oh, and Hyunju, it's unhealthy to put hot food in a plastic cutlery. Good, good, good. So in that case, I'm thinking more of putting food in a plastic container, right? Like a container. So your sentence is perfect, but it's a little bit different. So we should say it's unhealthy to use hot food with plastic cutlery. So you cut and manipulate and use your food with cutlery, and you put something in a container. That's the difference, but good sentence. All right, let's try with cafeteria or canteen. What are your thoughts on cafeteria food? Maybe if you were in the military, you would eat the military's cafeteria food all of the time. What do you think about it? Do you miss it? Sehyuk says, I have been in the canteen, which is located in Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Perfect. Very good. We can switch your sentence and just simply say, I have been to the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies canteen. Good, good. N says, I hate the cafeteria in my office because my boss never buys good coffee beans. So I used to buy it. Oh, anyway, perfect sentence. It's important that everybody drink proper coffee. Good job. Anybody else? The food at Ohio University cafeteria was good. Perfect, perfect. So this one is a specific place. So we'll put the to make it absolutely perfect. So the food at the Ohio University cafeteria was good, was so good. That's surprising. I'm always under the impression that cafeteria food is never that desirable. But perhaps there could be some good cafeterias out there. Excellent. Okay, 2 more words, and then we'll finish up. So I mentioned about French. Let's go back to French. So This word, we all probably know it or have seen it. It's cuisine. Cuisine. This is a French word, and it just means a style of cooking. A style of cooking. So we would talk about French cuisine, Thai cuisine, Italian cuisine, Japanese cuisine. It literally just means style of food, but it's a little more beautiful to say, right? So instead of saying, I like Thai food, you could say, I like Thai cuisine. Cuisine. You'll notice you need to say it in a more French way. It's a borrowed word. So everyone, including native speakers, says cuisine. We wouldn't call it, how could we read that in English? Like cuisine? Cuisine? No, just cuisine. Mm-hmm. So cuisine is the style of cooking. So for me, I would personally say I enjoy maybe French, Korean, and Italian cuisine the best. That means I like those foods the most. So let's talk now about cuisine, different types of cuisine. That's a noun, by the way, okay? It's a thing, right? Cuisine. So what kind of cuisine do you like the best? Or is there a cuisine that you don't like? For example, I would say, actually, I love all kinds of food. So I can't give a good example. I'll just make a sentence. I don't really enjoy Canadian cuisine, just as a sample sentence. So how about for you? What kind of cuisine do you love? It means what kind of food or style of food. So you'll notice that we just happen to categorize types of food by the country. So that is the definition. Local. Oh, good. Perfect sentence. Joyce says, I enjoy local cuisine when traveling. Yes, so you want to eat what the locals eat. Exactly. It's always a good idea when you're in a foreign country not to go to the touristy restaurants, to try to eat what the local people eat. Beautiful. N says, I don't like Korean cuisine. I ate it so many times in my life. Okay, it seems like you're kind of bored with Korean cuisine. Good sentence. I like Thai cuisine. I go to Thai cuisine. Okay, so here, cuisine is the style. So we like a style, but we can't go to a style. So we would say, I go to Thai restaurants at least once a week. So I'll say your sentence again. It's perfect now. I like Thai cuisine. So I go to Thai restaurants at least once a week. Good job. Hyunju says, to be honest with you, I didn't enjoy Mongolian foods very much. Good job. So you're not really a fan of Mongolian cuisine. Perfect. In my case, I don't think I've really had Mongolian yet, so I haven't made up my mind. I'll have to try it. I go to Thai restaurants at least once a week. Good job. Restaurants with an S, and then it's perfect. Good job. Okay, and our last word, I remember, yes, perfect. I remember somebody mentioning wine earlier. So now it's time to talk about wine. We're going to talk about the sommelier. The sommelier. I put it in the chat room. What's the meaning of sommelier? Who knows sommelier? A little hard to read. The sommelier. What could that be? It's related to wine. It comes from French. Yeah, the wine sommelier. Right. So they are some expert about wine. Another word is wine steward or wine pro. Good job, N. I like that. Wine professional. Wine pro. A wine steward. That's kind of an older way to say it, but it's still okay. A sommelier is a wine professional. So maybe they are the head waiter who knows a lot about wine. They have a sommelier certificate. Some restaurants employ a sommelier. So in these expensive restaurants, they have one person and their whole job is just to recommend wines, talk about the wine pairing. So what matches with what? Like this. Good. So I want you to try to use sommelier in a sentence. So for example, do you like to order wine when you eat out? Are you knowledgeable about wines? Do you know about wine pairing? So what foods matches with what wines? Do you want to become a sommelier? Would you like to study to become somebody who is knowledgeable about wines? Or not interested? Perhaps you don't drink, or perhaps you're on a diet. So there could be reasons why we don't really have much experience with this word. So let's talk about it. If you can, try to use sommelier in a sentence. You could say, I asked the sommelier for a wine recommendation. Or my brother is studying to become a sommelier. Let's try. Actually, one of my roommates, when I was a university student in Canada, she was a sommelier. She was a little bit older than the rest of us, and she owned the house that we were living in. And she was a wine professional. And I always thought that was such a unique job. Because of her job, she could travel to a lot of countries, the wine-making regions of the world. So she was in Chile, France, Spain, and so on, learning about wine. Sehyuk says, I sometimes enjoy sparkling wine. Perfect sentence. Good. Okay, anyone else? If you have an opinion about alcohol and eating in a restaurant, or if you want to use sommelier in a sentence, feel free. When I was young, says Anne, I wanted to be a sommelier, but I realized that I only love drinking wine. So nowadays, I enjoy wine with good cheese. Perfect sentence. Yes, good. So you do not want to mix your hobby with your profession. I see. Very good. Yes, and sommeliers are good at deciding which wine could match with which cheese. Good. All right, so we have only a few minutes left. I'll wait for more messages to come in, but we'll begin a little bit of a group discussion, and then we'll end with a quiz. So we learned some new words today, hopefully, and now it's time just to talk in general. So my question for you is, how do you feel about eating out? Remember, we talked about that, going out to eat or eating at a restaurant. How do you feel about eating out during the pandemic, during the era of the coronavirus? How has eating out changed for you? Do you still eat out? Do you never eat out? We can talk about that. Okay, and Hyunju says red wine matches with meat, while white ones go with fish well. Hey, that's my understanding too. That's what I have been told. Very good. Yes, so maybe darker color meat with a darker color wine, lighter color meat with a lighter color wine. Good job. Okay, so we can keep talking about wine. That's always fun. We could also talk about, unfortunately, what's happening with the restaurant industry and COVID-19. So, has the pandemic changed the way that you eat out? I mentioned before that I usually eat out only, I'd say, once a week because of the pandemic. And I order lots of delivery food. And in terms of coffee shops, I usually do not go to those either. Right now in Seoul, it's almost impossible to sit down at a coffee shop and have your coffee. So a lot of these coffee shops are offering only takeout. So what do you think about all of that? Any opinions? Any thoughts? Usually when the chat is quiet, I know that somebody is typing a really long message. It takes time to make a message, right? N says, I used to eat out only for business purposes, but I don't want to eat out. It's dangerous. Yes, good job. Right, perfect sentence. So it is a little bit dangerous right now. We have another message coming in. Okay, I'll wait a second. Hyunju says, I avoid eating out as much as possible. Perfect sentence. Yes. PM says, I would rather avoid eating out nowadays. Perfect. Good sentence as well. Yes, yes. That is a safe choice. Better to err on the side of caution. Good. Okay, why don't we ask one more question? Because it's sad and depressing talking about the coronavirus. PM, yes, yes. So you're going to avoid eating out until the corona pandemic calms down. Again, perfect English. Thank you for your message. Okay, so we'll switch to the next question. How about tipping at restaurants? So as you know, in Korea, we do not have to give a tip, this extra money, when we are ordering at a restaurant. But in so many other countries, we must tip. Usually, in these countries, the waiter or the waitress relies on that money. I know in Canada, a waiter or a waitress, they make a lower salary than others in the restaurant, with the expectation that customers will tip generously. And through the combination of their lower salary and their tip money, they could make a reasonable salary. So that's a really interesting system. And I'll admit, when I'm living here in Korea, I enjoy not having to worry about calculating a tip, giving this extra money. I like knowing that what I order, I know what it is and exactly how much it will cost. So what about you? What do you think about tipping? Or have you ever given a tip at a restaurant abroad? Did it shock you? Did it confuse you? Did it make you nervous? Let's see. In Rome, do as the Romans do. And good expression. I don't agree in Korea. I agree in other countries. Okay, good. So you're saying that every country has their own system and follow what they do. Joyce says 15% tip is reasonable for servers. Yes, in the US, right? That's correct. 15% is the usual one. I've heard some people say 10 to 20, but I think 10% is too low. I'd say 15, maybe 20 if the person did a really great job. Correct. So same in Canada. It's usually 15%, but it kind of varies. It changes depending on the province. So Canada has provinces, not states, but they're like the same thing. So what we usually do is we pay a provincial tax. So when you order at a restaurant, you have to pay for the food. Then you need to pay for a tax. That tax is a certain amount, maybe 13%, maybe 15%. It depends case by case, depending on the region. So when you see that percentage, let's say it's 15%, that's the same percent that you need to also give to the server. So it's a little bit complicated, honestly, in my country. We need to think, okay, what the price is, what the tax is, and then double it, pay that again to the server or the waitress. Or waiter, excuse me. Good, good. Okay, anyone else? Any other final thoughts? There will be some more live lectures this afternoon, so I should end our lecture very shortly. Oh, one more message. PM. Tipping culture seems to vary a lot depending on the countries and cities. Perfect sentence, and I definitely agree with you. So what did they say? Oh, N said it. Do as the Romans do. Good. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Let's finish with a very, very fast quiz. So the question is in the chat. We talked about it earlier. So my question is, could you tell me what is another word for wine expert or wine pro? Wine professional. Who remembers that word? We just learned it, but it's a little hard to spell. Hyunju, correct. Yes, sommelier. Another question here is, or wine steward. Yes, sommelier or wine steward. Good. Next question. What do we collectively call forks, knives, spoons, and other such utensils, including chopsticks? What word? It starts with the letter C. It's the collective word that we use for our forks, knives. Hyunju, again, lovely job. Yes, that's cutlery. Okay. And our last one today. What is another way to say, hey, let's go Dutch? So remember, it's not Dutch pay. Not Dutch pay. There are other ways to say going Dutch. Let's go Dutch. We talked about them. We can use a bunch of different expressions. What does that mean? Let's go Dutch. Yeah, let's split the bill. Good job, right? Let's divide the bill. Let's split it. Let's split the bill. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining me. This is actually my final YouTube live class of second semester. Thank you so much for being with me. Some students have, I think, been with me this whole time. So thank you so much. I hope you learned something. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. So enjoy your day, everybody. And stay tuned. We have some more lectures coming up very soon, starting at 1 o'clock. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.